Hi guys. This time I am going to do another fabric tumbler because I actually kind of fell in love with the process the last time I did it, like so many of you. Um, I'm going to do a three-way tumbler that has the fabric on the top, and then I'm going to do a chunky glitter in the middle and fine on the bottom. So I'm going to do Bippity Boppity Boo from Pressing Images on the bottom, just because I don't want to deal with the chunky around the edges. And then I'm going to do, of course, It's a Miranda Thing from Pressing Images for the middle part. So that'll go with this fabric beautifully. So, and this fabric is from Fabric Tumblers Canada, and it's this lovely Dragonfly print. My very best friend since I was 12 years old collects anything Dragonfly. She loves them. So I've already cut this piece so it's the way I want it to be, and I have enough that I can do a couple of half tumblers left over. So I've just measured it by wrapping it around and cutting it, and then I measured the fabric, the cup, to where this dragonfly is cut off, because this I was important to me that this guy stayed whole, and so I measured a line around based on that. So right now I'm going to take, this is Delicate Surface Scotch tape. I think it's an inch, maybe it's 3/4. I don't know exactly. I think it's an inch. I have technology for that. No, it's 3/4 of an inch thick. So this is going to be the width of the line that I'm going to do this. So I've marked it with pencil just by measuring up with this ruler. I love this ruler. I got it from my son's school long time ago, and because it bends around, so it makes it easier to work with tumblers. Anyway, I've got all of these markings here, and I'm going to just take my tape and lay it against the marking. This is a little, usually I do these a little bit more halfway, but this time, because I wanted the fabric to be specifically the way it was, I had to work with, I guess I could have cut up, but that's okay. I'm going to do this just slightly differently, and you want to line up your lines as well as you possibly can. It helps to pull your tape taut, and I completely am straight here, so I'm going to assume my tape is straight. I can't process tape without actually folding it over because I can't find ends ever, so there's my little flag for when I move it. So I've got that taped off now, and so I'm going to show you a tip when it comes to applying the glitter to this. But anyway, so I'm going to start applying my fabric, and I'm going to use the Crystal glitter glue because that's what I used last time and it worked really well, so I'm going to do that again. My end is a little bit plugged up here. Alrighty. So like I said, I figured it out that this dragonfly needs to be whole, this one and this one. So the rest of them I don't really care about. The turquoise one will stay that way. And I'm going to, even though there's a natural lip on this Hydrosport that I don't need to worry about cutting this, I will cut it down just a little bit, so I don't have to worry about it being in the groove and getting all weird. But my baseline is here, and I want to just make sure that it goes to my tape line. I can always cut it a little bit if I need to, but I'm going to try and make it as exact. And as soon as I finish applying this, I'm going to remove my tape this time, and then I'm going to reapply it after I get all of my layers of glue on for my fabric. So I just want to make sure I'm relatively straight to start, because you know that's important. And I have spray painted this with a white primer because I couldn't find a flat white primer and paint, so this is just primer. So if you take time fussing around for the first part, the rest of it goes super easy. So I'm going to take and fold that over, and then I'm going to take some glue and just put it on there and fold that over and press it in. Now we can go, oop, I didn't press it in enough apparently. I'm still new to the fabric tumbler game. Hold on to it this time. So it squirts out pretty well there. Got a little too carried away. I want that bottom edge to be as even as I possibly can get it, so I don't have to worry about it later, because I don't want to have to trim that edge if at all possible. Piece of glitter trying to attach itself. Don't want that there. Because this is a stretchy fabric, you also don't want to pull things too crazily, because what's going to happen is you're going to warp your image a little bit. You don't want to do that. get that all smoothed out. And stuck down. Okay. I'm getting glue all over the place where it doesn't belong. All right, I'm gonna take a piece of electrical tape and put it along the line where I started the cup. And cut the fabric. I don't know what that is or where it came from, but it doesn't belong there, so I can take it off. All right, and I'm going to start covering my first layer. With a layer of glue so that epoxy is not going to make it all weird. You have to do several layers of glue before you're ready to epoxy, like 4 or 5. And I don't want this tape glued onto here, so I'm going to take that off right away here. So you don't want to do this type of cup with fabric, vinyl also works. It's just a little trickier to wrap all the way around, although if you have something straight like this, it's a lot easier than a tapered skinny, because tapered skinnies taper. So there is layer number 1, and my girlfriend's just going to absolutely love this because her favorite thing is dragonflies and her favorite color is blue. So as soon as I saw this fabric, I had to snap it up because it is just such the perfect thing for my friend. So I'm going to glue that down all around the edges here again. So I'm going to do another coat after this, and then I'll come back and show you how I cut that upper rim, and we will proceed from there, because once we get to that point we can start glittering. And making this look fabulous. So that's how you get the fabric on there. Okay, I have 2 layers of the glitter glue on this fabric, and I evened up my line across the top. I tried to use the cutter from the Wicked Shimmer, but there's not enough washers to get it up to where I needed to for this cup, so I ended up just running my craft knife. I've got this Cricut craft knife that I just ended up running along the edge here to even it up. It's not, I'm not going to border these with vinyl. I'm going to use my chunky glitter here and here so that it kind of overlaps onto the fabric, and that's kind of the look I'm going for. So I may or may not be happy with it. I don't know. We'll go from there. And you can see that I've taped off again where my chunky glitter is going to go in this band here, and there are spots that I didn't get quite even. This is only my second fabric cup, so I'm not a pro at it like some people are, but the gaps here, again, I'm going to have the chunky glitter flow into and over top of the bottom edge of the of the fabric, so it's going to disguise that. So that's fine. But right now, this bottom part is where I'm going to do this lighter colored glitter, and so this is Pressing Images Bippity Boppity Boo, which is perfect with this Dragonfly. So I'm going to do that, and I usually apply glitter with the epoxy method. I usually don't vary from that ever, but in this case I'm going to use this glitter glue again because this is what it's made for. So I'm just going to give it a shake. I don't know if you need to or not, but I'm going to do that anyway, just in case. And I've got this taped off, so I'm not putting anything there right now. I'm just going to do the bottom edge, and then I'll seal it with some clear spray paint, and then I'll do this part. And I still need to do 2 or 3 more layers of glue over top of my fabric, but I'm just going to squirt that on there, and I'm going to use this Teflon brush. It's a Teflon square edged brush that you can just get just about anywhere. It's the amber colored bristles. Those are the best for glue. And I'm just going to apply a nice even coat, because same with Mod Podge, if you have a uneven coat of glue, your glitter is going to be drying unevenly too. So I'm just going to wrap that around. I don't care if I'm going over top of the tape right now, because I'm going to peel it off before it dries anyway. So, and this is, I think, an extra fine. It's a fine or an extra fine anyway. Put some glue on the bottom. And the primary reason I'm using my finer glitter on my bottom portion of this cup is because it's a lot easier to cover the edges with a finer and extra fine glitter than the chunky. I just don't feel like putting that many layers of epoxy on this cup. Do something different, because usually I would put the chunky glitter on the bottom and go from there, but that's not what I'm doing. So I have a nice even coat of the glue, and I have it all over the nooks and crannies. So now I can add my glitter onto this. I'm just going to set this aside. No, that's not going to work. I'm just going to set this aside so it's not touching my tabletop. And you don't really want glue on your parchment paper because your glitter will stick to it, so that's gonna happen. So I'm just gonna take this glitter and, oh, she's going to love this color. So the bottom edge is going to be a very straight line because my tape is there, so that's good. And I'm happy enough with my seam that I don't think that I need to cover it up. It's right here, and I don't know that it's that noticeable. I love this color. It's the first time I've used this color. This color is awesome. I have to remember I do not have the working time with this glue as I do with epoxy. You want a really super pretty blue? This is it. Bippity Boppity Boo from Pressing Images. That is stunning. It's got like an opalescent to it, but it's a nice, it's like a periwinkle. I just want to make sure I have really good coverage on this because I don't want to have to come back to it. So I'm just dumping. I'm going to pick up all this glitter here in a minute. Knock off the excess. So pretty, and it goes so nicely with these dragonflies. My girlfriend is going to be crazy about this cup because her favorite color is blue and her favorite critter is dragonfly. She's got them all over her house in various forms. So that's that. Before I apply any kind of epoxy to it, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to take my glue. Might as well do that right now while I'm here with you. And do another layer on my fabric. And you want to make sure you get this edge you just cut off really good to make sure it seals down. You don't need to be, with the Hydra Sports, you have this natural little ditch in here, so you don't need to worry so much about the seal against the cup with it, but you do just need to make sure you have enough layers of glue on. I'm told 4 or 5. I don't know if that's the case with the glitter glue or if that's just a Mod Podge thing, but I will do that anyway because I just want to make sure that when I apply epoxy, it's not going to seep into the fabric and create dark spots, because that would be bad. Spend all this time and effort and then it's totally messed up. I had that happen with paper. You can do this with paper too, just regular, even scrapbook paper, backgrounds, wrapping paper, any kind of decorative paper you can think of. You just need to make sure that you apply enough Mod Podge over top of it to seal it properly. If you do that, you're golden. I have one that I've kind of set aside, but I'm working on it. It's a wood grain. It's for my husband, and I printed maps for our favorite hikes by our favorite campgrounds and cut them out in interesting shapes and tea stained them and glued them to a water bottle over top of the wood grains. So this is layer number 3. I will do 2 more layers of glue over top of the dragonflies, and then I will seal this this glitter so that it doesn't move when I add the other one, and then I'll come back. So I've had a change of plan. I am not putting the chunky glitter on this. I'm just going to do all this bippity boppity boo because the more I look at it, the more I am in love with it. So I am just going to fill in this band and this top with the glitter. I might do another layer because I can see that I have some ridges in here that are from the glue. This is why I don't like to use a glue method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in these layers and do another coat on this, which would be coat number 4. And then I'm going to seal it all with a spray sealer, maybe do one more coat of the glue on the fabric, and then I'm going to do epoxy method and another layer of the glitter so that it's all even. I think that's my plan, but you know, we all know plans can change. So I'm just going to do this space between right here right now, and I'm just going to make sure I get right up against the edge so that you hopefully will not be able to tell that I've done this in 2 steps instead of just 1. And I'm overlapping on the fabric just a touch. I am going to do the vinyl lines. I have decided, because I'm only doing 2 colors now, so I am going to do a teal and a blue holographic for my lines. Alright, so I'm all the way around this spot. Just even it out as best I can. I just fell in love so much with this glitter that I just can't go forward with the other one because this glitter matches so perfectly to this fabric. It was like it was made for it. So my vinyl lines are going to show or hide any of the imperfections. So I'm going to knock off the excess. So there is a bit of a line, but once it's all dry and I put another layer of glitter on with the epoxy method, because normally what I would do is I would have my base painted a color similar to my glitter color. So that didn't happen with this. And you need to brush off any glitter that gets on your fabric. Or it's going to become a permanent part of it. Okay, so now I'm going to just glue in this rim here. So I can get my glitter applied to the top. And I'm going over the edge of the fabric a little bit here so I can get my glitter, because this edge is really kind of uneven. So I want my glitter to go up and over the edge. I may or may not be putting a vinyl line there, but I will for sure be putting a vinyl line here. All right, set that aside. Just making sure I get really good coverage here. Knock off the excess. Once all the glue is dry, I'm going to go over this with a stiff brush just to get my glitter to not be all throughout my fabric like this. So I'm not going to do another layer right now because that's just going to seal in that glitter. Not that that's a bad thing, because it's kind of adding a bit of shimmer to it. So maybe I'll just scatter it in some pinches here. When I'm working on these processes in my head, it's just amazing to me how many times I actually change my mind on how I'm doing things and what I'm doing for my final product, and that's okay. It's all part of the artistic process. So there we go. Just a little bit of shimmer through the dragonflies. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside for a second while I deal with my glitter. Once everything is all dry, I'm going to, once all of this is dry, but look at how pretty that glitter is with that fabric. It's just perfect. So I'll get this all evened out with another layer. It'll all work out. So I will put another layer on after I seal it all, and then I'll put some epoxy on it. Okay, so seeing as I changed my glitter plan, I've changed my vinyl plan as well. So I'm going to place my vinyl strips around the top, along the seam, and around where the two meet down here, as well as put her name on it. So I've just used the Cricut blue holographic vinyl for the strips, and her name I added the matte foil in a teal color, so that we could tie in this dragonfly thing here. So I've made my strips. I made a square in Cricut. I clicked the unlock button and I changed the width to 0.15 in order to make this the width I want it. And then the length for the strips that go around, I made 10 inches. I measured first, and the 10 inches overlaps a little bit, so that's as long as I want it to be. And this short one I made 5.5 inches, which should cover my seam just nicely, and I can cut away any overlap with a craft knife so that I can make it all fit together here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my short one and apply it to the seam. You can just roll back the paper when you're doing a strip like this and just continue to roll it as you're undoing it, or you can just peel it off and try and do it straight that way. I do it both ways. It works both ways. So you want to kind of center the center of the strip over top of your line. And get it as straight as you can just by pulling straight down. And that seam is now completely covered up. So you can see it's a little too long here, so I'm going to cut it down, but I'm going to cut it when I add, well, I can cut it now probably, on the bottom here, because it's going to be, just drag your knife straight across it and then lift it up and get rid of it. So I'm going to leave this one for now, because if it's going to interfere with my horizontal stripe, I'll fix it then. So now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to fold over the edge so it'll expose like a little tongue on a snake. And I'm going to do around the bottom here. I'm just going to go over top. And I'm just going to continue, I lift up and adjust as I go. I think that sets it off just nicely. Except it's not quite as straight as I like. And see, you can just totally unwind it. Helps if you're not working with something quite so small and flexible. And I started it right on the edge of the vertical line. You want to hold tension so that it stays straight as you go along. All right, and then I'm going to take my craft knife and I'm just going to cut it right as close to that edge as I can, so that I'm not going to leave a gap or an overlap. Trying to decide if I want to do the top one or not. I think I will. And you kind of want it to start and stop in the same places. Just so all of your seams are together. Because this is a hydro sport, there's a natural curve there that, this is why I was kind of thinking I didn't want to do this, because it can interfere with the way it goes on. So I'm just following the line of that curve. And I'm getting a little bit of bubbling here, but we'll fix that as we go. But that's how it's gonna look. She's gonna love this, so I'm gonna cut this again as close as I can to the vertical line there. And now for her name. I'm going to do it on the exact opposite side. I do have a cradle, but I very rarely actually use it because I find it a bit of a pain. But if I need to measure something, I do. So this is just contact paper from the dollar store that I use as transfer tape. And so I'm just going to roll the backing off of the vinyl at an angle. Like, and just roll it right off. If any of it sticks, you can just press it back in and see what happens. Get it fixed there. So I have choices here. I can go straight across, or I go to an angle. I'll go straight across. If you have a hard time getting your decals on straight, I know some people do, and sometimes I do. If you find that you have a hard time getting your decals on straight, and you think it's straight, and you put it on, and as soon as you stand the cup up, you know it's crooked, put your decals on crookedly on purpose, and that way nobody ever knows that you had an issue. So this is such a small area, it'll be really obvious if I do get it crooked. Another good tip, I didn't do that this time, is when you use things with a grid on it, get it as straight as possible in the grid and have your line as straight as possible so you can line it up with the bottom, and that'll help you. But I didn't on purpose do that this time, so I'm going to do it crooked. I'm going to center it as best I can because I'm in the center of the other side of the cup, and so you just touch in the middle and press the middle down, and then go from one side using pretty firm pressure, and then come back to the middle, and then come the other side, and just use firm pressure and press it down, and you should be able to get it on smoothly without any wrinkles or folds in your vinyl if you go from the center out. That's my backing, I can use that again. So this is how it looks. She is so going to love this cup. I can't wait to see her, to give it to her. So anyway, I'm going to put another probably 2 layers of epoxy on this before I call it done. And it's a really pretty summery Dragonfly cup. Thank you to Pressing Images for the glitter and the Hydrosport bottle, and Fabric Tumblers Canada for this gorgeous fabric that's just perfect for what I wanted. And see you in 2 weeks.